Am I making more out of one word here, Brian, than I should? It said the partnership with the two will move forward.
Well, with this Nets team, I'm not sure. I think they're probably right now going about week to week. But I think making any predictions or assumptions about this Nets team is going to be risky business. But they came through the storm here at the start of this offseason. Sean Marks, it was one of the more aggressive press conferences I can remember in recent years. He basically came out and without calling out players' names, basically said, we can't go forward like this with this team. We got to reset this, the way our team operates. And I was like, good luck to you, because, from the day that KD and Kyrie Irving walked in, you basically, gave them the keys to the franchise and sort of let them have control. I don't know how you're getting it back. And the way that they have gotten through it, Dan, is leverage. When those guys came there, they didn't have much leverage. The Nets were, a borderline playoff team with no superstar players, and they were like, whatever it takes. You want us to sign DeAndre Jordan for $40 million? Okay. You want to potentially have a say in the coach? Okay. And that, giving them that kind of rope, it didn't work. And so the team was like, well, we can't go forward with this. So how do you get, now they've got the leverage. So number one, they knew that there wasn't a huge market for Kyrie Irving. Not that other teams didn't want him. It's just that nobody had money this summer. It wasn't a summer where there was a lot of cap space. And so they had to, Kyrie at one point said, hey, listen, I might opt out. Or I might go to the Lakers and take a $30 million pay cut. It seemed crazy, but they had to go to bed at night thinking about that. They had Kyrie saying, hey, I want to work out a sign and trade. Give me permission to go talk to other teams. And they go, okay, go do that. They knew that the leverage was in their favor there, and they won that one. And then when Durant said, I want to be traded, they knew that they had a 4-year contract in their favor. And they had to probably swallow some Pepto, more sleepless nights. But when they talked with other teams, Dan, and those teams made offers, they were like, no, we're trading you a superstar player on a 4-year contract. We're not backing down. And so even when 2 weeks ago, Durant asked for Marks and Steve Nash to be fired, obviously on its face, that was extremely disconcerting. But if you could peel back the initial shock layer, there was Durant saying underneath there's a path to me coming back and rescinding this. It was a pretty extreme path. And they kept their nerve because they had the leverage. And ultimately, the leverage played off. Will it continue to pay off for the next 9 months? I guess we'll wait and see.
Okay, but I can't imagine that first meeting between Kyrie, KD, and Steve Nash. I mean, is Steve Nash safe?
Okay, so I do think it was a remarkable step that Steve Nash, and I mean, I know Steve a little bit. This is a proud man. This is a relentless competitor. We all saw him in his career. I mean, this is a guy who, through the back part, a couple of years of his career, couldn't play without laying down on the court to deal with his back injuries, and he just played through it. I mean, this is not a guy who gets pushed around. But he flew to LA this week, or whatever it was, I guess, 2 days ago, and he sat in the room with KD. And I'll say this, Dan, I've covered the NBA for 20 years. You've seen more NBA seasons than I have. I have seen situations where a coach gets threatened by a star player, gets the backing of management, and becomes emboldened, where they're like, okay, now you know that you can't get to me. And it actually works. I'll give you an example right off the bat. LeBron James' first year in Miami, they start 9-8. They could debate how much he and the rest of those guys wanted Eric Spoelstra to step aside and Pat Riley to come in. Riley put him right back in their place, back Spoelstra. And I remember being there the day after the stories came out that LeBron wanted Spoelstra fired. I thought we might see like a tentative Eric Spoelstra. He was absolutely as strong as he's ever been. Obviously, there's been times where the star doesn't like the coach and it doesn't work. But I actually think they may have given the franchise reset a chance to work here because they use their leverage against these two guys. And whatever was said in that room between Durant and Nash, in theory, carries over to the start of training camp. I can't believe I'm saying these words, and I'm certainly not running down to place a bet on the Nets championship. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Nets now because I like their roster, and I think this might have cleared out some scar tissue, and I think they got a chance now.
What's this mean for Kyrie in Brooklyn?
He has an incredible incentive to have a low stress, great season. He has seen that his windows to leave Brooklyn are not that open. Now, there's a lot more cap space next summer than there is this summer. He'll have more options. But he has never been sort of under this kind of scrutiny before. He has got 1 year on his contract, and he needs to prove that it's going to work. And so I don't know if Kyrie has it in him to be consistently focused on basketball and to deliver the way the Nets need him to do it. He may not have it. He may be at a point where we obviously know that on individual nights he can be spectacular. But if it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen in this situation. I think the Nets have put themselves in the best chance to succeed with this Kyrie that they could. And it doesn't mean that it will, but I think there's a level of buy-in. Now, buy-in in the summer and buy-in in January, two different things, but I do think there's a level of buy-in. And the one thing I also will say, throughout this entire process, we've never seen any indications of Durant and Kyrie splintering. In fact, if anything, I think Durant has been too loyal to Kyrie. So ultimately, whatever Steve Nash is doing takes back seat to the way those two operate together. And I will say that Ben Simmons is one of the great mysteries in the entire NBA. You could tell me that Ben Simmons is going to give them nothing this year, and I would say that's possible. You could also tell me that they're going to deploy a lineup with Ben Simmons playing center, Joe Harris and Seth Curry playing shooting positions with Kyrie and Durant, and you could see an incredibly you talk about the death lineup that the Warriors used to run. That's the death lineup on steroids. That would be incredible. I'm not saying they're going to play it 30 minutes a game. That would be incredible. I don't know whether Ben Simmons can manage it, but there's all of a sudden a whole bunch of different things this team can do that has me thinking about them in basketball terms instead of what's going to happen with their star players.